Well, thank you all for joining us today, and welcome to the Tippie College's webinar on how Amazon and other delivery services deliver the goods. My name's Barb Thomas, and it's my pleasure to coordinate today's event. Now, before we dive into today's event, I do want to share some information on some future webinars and other events being held by the Tippie College. We will be hosting an entrepreneurial webinar series this year, and the first event is scheduled for Wednesday, September 18th at noon. This webinar will be focused on side hustle how-to and is in partnership with the John Papajohn Entrepreneurial Center. On October 23rd, our webinar will highlight presidential prediction markets, including the Iowa electronic markets. We'll hear from Tom Gruca, Director of the IEM and Professor of Marketing here at Tippie. So please watch your chat because registration information will be in the chat, and we hope that you can join us for those webinars. In addition, we have a number of alumni events on the calendar. For those of you in Des Moines, we will host an event at the new Wilson's Orchard venue on September 19th. Now, for Hawkinson alumni, we will celebrate 25 years of the Hawkinson Institute with two events, one in New York and one in Chicago. We'll be in New York on October 18th and in Chicago on January 31st. Of course, there is always homecoming, so bring out your black and gold and join us for the barbecue on the patio on Friday, October 25th, prior to the parade. In addition, we do have a block of football tickets that you can purchase. Those are all available on our alumni website. Now, today's program will be recorded and will be made available on the Tippie College's Alumni Resources page and on our YouTube page. Now, these pages provide a variety of access to other recorded webinars, such as our recent Resume Rehab Career webinar. Now, all of our webinars are free and open to the public, so feel free to share registration information with your friends and associates. Now, today we will learn more about how Amazon and other delivery companies get products to you so quickly. Our speaker today is Ann Campbell. She is a professor of business analytics and the Hansen Family Chair in Manufacturing Productivity. Ann is a past recipient of an NSF grant, and in 2024, she received the May Broadback Award for Faculty Excellence. She is an expert in the area of transportation logistics. Now, we will have time for questions after Ann's presentation. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions, and feel free to use the chat to communicate with us as well. And with that, I will turn it over to Ann Campbell. Take it away, Ann.
Thanks, Barb. And that Hawkinson, that's a tough word. I'll support that. So thanks, Barb. As Barb said, my name is Ann Campbell, and I'm going to be talking today about how Amazon delivers the goods. But before we get into that, I thought I'd start by just introducing myself to you a little bit so you can get to know me and how I got into transportation and logistics. So I'm a Texas girl. I grew up in Houston, Texas, went to Rice University. So occasionally you'll hear a little bit of a twang to my voice, get a little harassment about that. I got my PhD from Georgia Tech in Atlanta. One of the things that was great about my program at Georgia Tech is it was focused on logistics, and we worked with American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and a lot of trucking companies. And that's where I really found my passion for transportation and logistics. So after Georgia Tech, I came to Iowa in 2000. So that means this is the start of my 25th year of teaching at the University of Iowa. You know, it doesn't look like it, but this will be my 25th year. So I've been a researcher in freight logistics since grad school and through my whole career at Iowa. Freight logistics, you could say, is defined as the transportation of goods. It's typically from a manufacturer to a warehouse or a warehouse to a set of stores. But what's sort of become the more emerging field in transportation logistics is the transportation of goods from warehouses to customer addresses, and that's because of the growth in online ordering. Can you imagine the change in online ordering that's happened in the last 25 years? Used to, you could order a few things through catalogs, through the forms in the middle of the catalog. Now we go on Amazon and other websites almost every day and order things. And that's really been a big change in the area of freight logistics. And through the growth in online ordering, there's been a real change in the expectation of customer service in terms of how fast things arrive. Used to, when you'd order things out of catalogs, it'd be like 2 weeks. And then with UPS, it began things like 5 days. But now we have a lot of companies offering next day delivery or even delivery the same day. All of these changes in the field of logistics are what has made it a really interesting field for me, because we're always changing in terms of what we're offering customers and what companies are willing to do in terms of shipping and ordering and getting to customers. And so all of that has made it a field that has created a lot of different research problems for me to study. Related to that, I've also become interested in disaster logistics to see if there's things we can learn from working with companies and how they get things to customers and stores faster, to see if we can use that knowledge to get to people who are affected by natural disasters in a faster way. What are the lessons we can learn from companies to apply that to people who've been affected in a disaster context? As a general sort of way I describe it, I say I'm really interested in innovations in logistics. Anytime a company is looking to do something in a new way, whether it's faster, better, more environmentally friendly, any new idea becomes something I'm really interested in to see, one, if it's a good idea, and if so, when it is a good idea, why it's a good idea, when it's a bad idea. All of these things are the kinds of things I've been working on for the last 25 years during my career at Iowa. So speaking of innovation and logistics, Amazon has been a great source of innovation, and that's why I would call myself an Amazon nerd, and that I follow a lot of things they do because they've been such a courageous company in terms of trying so many different things. Some of them have been successes and some of them have been failures, but they try a lot of things. So it's been interesting as someone who is interested in innovation to see the things that they have tried and study them in detail. So some of the things that Amazon has tried that we won't go into a whole lot today are things like Amazon Go. Those are the stores that they have created where you walk in and you just pick items off a shelf and put them in your cart. And through the use of video technology and AI, they're able to figure out what are the things that you have selected and put in your cart. They charge you automatically on your Amazon account, and you can walk out of the store without ever going to any kind of checkout counter or register. That was a real innovation in the shopping space. One I will talk a little bit about later is the use of drones. Amazon was one of the first companies to say they were going to use drones to deliver packages and send them out on drones to different locations rather than you have to wait for a delivery vehicle. So that's why I'm sort of a nerd for Amazon, is because they try so many different things that have been successes and failures, but definitely are often one of the first to try something. But I do want to offer a small disclaimer. I do not work for Amazon. Don't get any money for them. So everything I know about them has really come from reading news articles, reading websites. So I don't know all of the secrets behind the scenes. So many of the numbers and details that I will use will come from news articles and websites. So they will be approximate. They should be close, but they may not be exact. And that's because I have no secret behind the scenes information from Amazon. Okay, so let's get started. So the question that motivated this webinar was Barb's husband got a delivery of AirPods in less than 24 hours from Amazon. And she asked me, how did he get his AirPods in less than 24 hours? when I was able to answer that question, she said, a lot of people might be interested in that. And so that's where we're here today. So the framing question I'm going to use today is, how do you get your AirPods in less than 24 hours after you order them at Amazon? Okay. And the answer, as you can expect, has a lot of different parts to it, because Amazon does a lot of very careful decisions in the design of their supply chain and their logistics network to make that possible, right? So there's a lot of parts to the answer, but I'm going to focus particularly on 4 main reasons that allow you to get your AirPods in 24 hours or less. And I hope you find these 4 reasons to be interesting. I know that I do. So 3 of the reasons have to do with how Amazon organizes their fulfillment centers. Fulfillment centers are the warehouses where products are stored for Amazon. And so that's going to be 3 of the reasons are going to be related to that. And one of the reasons it's going to be related to the way they deliver the products to your house through the use of the Amazon vans. So let's get to it. And we're going to start by talking about what is an Amazon fulfillment center. So Amazon uses the word fulfillment center the way a lot of companies use the word warehouse. The reason why they're using that different term fulfillment center is because it doesn't just operate only as a warehouse, but it is also where orders are filled. The orders that you place online are filled from a fulfillment center, so that's why they use the different names. So we're going to use the term fulfillment center throughout the rest of the presentation, but that's just another term for an Amazon warehouse. So fulfillment center is a large warehouse, and what is stored in the warehouse is the inventory that Amazon gets from the various sellers. So in the case of the AirPods, it's going to be, they get those from Amazon, they're going to get the Tide, they're going to get the Kleenex from Kimberly-Clark, all the different products that they get, they're going to receive from sellers, put them in this fulfillment center so that they can be ready to fill orders when they are received, okay? So the other thing that happens in the fulfillment center is they're going to get picking sheets every time you place an order on Amazon, and the picking will occur at the fulfillment center to pick the items that you've put in your order, put them together, and then get the orders shipped off to you. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a little bit. But that gives you the overall picture of what's going on in the fulfillment center. The products are stored, the orders are picked, and it's also where the shipping occurs. So all of that happens within a fulfillment center. So when you're at home and you place an order for, again, we're going to use AirPods as an example. When you place the order for the AirPods that you are ordering are currently located at one of the Amazon fulfillment centers when you place that order. Okay, so now that we know what a fulfillment center is, let's talk about one of the main reasons that Amazon is able to fulfill your order in 24 hours or less. And one of the big reasons has to do with the number and location of these fulfillment centers, okay? When you think about you order something online, right, it has to be filled from a warehouse somewhere. A company could have 2 very large warehouses, 3 very large warehouses. Instead, Amazon has approximately 150 of these warehouses in the United States. They're choosing to have a very large number of them represented by the colored dots in the graph on the right. So different websites have different numbers, but I believe probably the most accurate number is about 150 fulfillment centers in the United States. What is the value in having 150? It means they're able to have a fulfillment center, at least one, if not more, near every major city in the United States. So there's going to be one near Miami, Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles. They're all going to have at least one fulfillment center. We have one now in Des Moines, Iowa City. So they're growing all the time. They're adding them now more by medium-sized cities. And we also have fulfillment centers in most every populous region. So that means even if there's not one major city, but there's a lot of smaller cities that create a decent amount of population, there is an Amazon fulfillment center there as well. As you might expect, some states have more fulfillment centers than others due to population. The states with the largest number of fulfillment centers are California, Texas, Illinois, Florida, and Pennsylvania. So those are going to have the most, and you can see that through the darker colors on the graph on the right. What is the reason why Amazon would create 150 fulfillment centers when they could get by with filling orders with 3? It's because by having 150, they are creating proximity, meaning the people who are placing an order, that's you and me, there's a fulfillment center that's near us. Okay, so let's think about what that means to us by having a fulfillment center that's near us. So think about like the picture on the right, there's a lot of different packages here. Think about getting ready for back to school. Maybe you're ordering 6 different things, right? Spirals, pencils, pens, all different things. You've often seen that some packages will arrive sooner than others. One may arrive tomorrow, and other packages may arrive in 2 days, and some may arrive in 3 days. The ones that arrive fastest are from the fulfillment centers that are closest to you, okay? So the way that you got your AirPods in 24 hours or less is because they were at the fulfillment center near your home. So in Iowa, for example, if you got your AirPods in 24 hours or less, that means they were probably in stock in the Iowa City or Des Moines fulfillment center. The orders that are not arriving today, but take 2 or 3 days, were at further fulfillment centers and had to travel through the Amazon delivery network or the UPS delivery network and travel by truck or air and take 2 to 3 days. So one big reason why you're able to get some orders in 24 hours is that Amazon likely has a fulfillment center not very far from your house, and the thing that you ordered, in this case AirPods, is at that nearby fulfillment center. But some things are not going to be nearby, and they may take 2 to 3 days. Okay. The next one I think is really cool is how Amazon chooses what inventory to have at each of their fulfillment centers. So I call that inventory selection, okay? The reason why inventory selection is so important for a company like Amazon is think about the number of different products that Amazon sells. I looked up yesterday, and the current number of different products that Amazon sells at one time on the website is 350 million different products. So think of all the colors and sizes and different kinds of things. 350 million different products. There is no way they could build 150 warehouses that each hold 350 million different products, right? These warehouses would be ridiculously large, and a lot of the products that would be in that warehouse would be things that would rarely sell, might expire by the time they get ordered. So it doesn't make sense to have all 350 million different products in each fulfillment center. Instead, Amazon has to use machine learning, which is a form of artificial intelligence, do analysis of sales data, and be much more strategic in how they make the inventory decisions for every fulfillment center, okay? But one of the things they do is they categorize the items based on how frequent they are selling. So they look at what items are selling the most often, and those items are put in all fulfillment centers. So these are the items that sell hundreds, if not thousands, every single day. Those are the items that are going to be in all fulfillment centers. So if you can go on the Amazon website, you can see what are the top selling items in every category. Some of them may surprise you, some of them not. So I have some examples here under beauty, home health and beauty products. One of the most popular that is sold is Neutrogena makeup wipes, so something a lot of people order regularly. So that is going to be in every Amazon fulfillment center, because not because it's the most expensive or has anything to do with a particular location, but it is something everywhere in the United States. They sell lots of these, so they're going to be in every Amazon fulfillment center. Same thing for AirPods. They are sold at such frequency, they're in every Amazon fulfillment center. So one of the reasons why you were able to get those AirPods in 24 hours is because there is a fulfillment center near you, and every fulfillment center has AirPods in its inventory since it's such a frequently sold item. But some of the other things that are going to be in every fulfillment center, because they are popular and sold frequently, might be trendy things. So you can think of right now, one of the most popular things is to buy one of these Stanley water cups. So Stanley water cups rank very high. So they are currently stored in all fulfillment centers. Maybe when they become less popular, the sales data and the machine learning will tell us they don't need to be in every fulfillment center, but for now they are. Similarly, when you think about that you order books from Amazon, they're not going to have all books at every fulfillment center, but they're going to have the most popular books. So currently I saw the #1 most popular book being sold at Amazon is It Ends With Us, due to the recent movie release. So now, since it's so popular, it's going to be in every Amazon fulfillment center. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little idea, again, why you can get the AirPods. But let's talk about some of the other 350 million different products that you may order Amazon, and let's think about where they are. So because Amazon can't store everything, we can kind of think of a categorization of the remaining items. So we've got the most popular items in every fulfillment center. Then let's think about the things that are ordered a little less often than that. They're not popular enough to be in every fulfillment center, but they're still ordered fairly frequently. The example I found for that is these fairly popular charging plug, not popular enough to go in every fulfillment center. Something about it isn't quite as popular, so we don't want to store it in every single one of them, but we want to still be able to store it close enough so all Prime members can get it within the 2-day guarantee that Amazon tries to offer for every Prime member for all the products on their website. So in order to do that, they're going to make sure, even if these plugs aren't at every fulfillment center, they're going to be one within a region that is close to you. So let's say if they don't store it in Iowa City, maybe these plugs are in Des Moines. If the plugs aren't in Des Moines, maybe they're in Wisconsin or Minnesota, so that they can get to you within 2 days. So they are distributing the less popular products so that they're not at every fulfillment center. There's some here, some there, but they're all within general regions, so we can get sort of the second tier of popular items to you within the 2-day Amazon Prime promise. Okay, so then let's go to the sort of third tier. These would be the items that are not ordered near as often. These are the ones I would say ordered more rarely, that it's not worth to Amazon to take the space in the fulfillment center to store them because they aren't ordered frequently enough, or they require some level of customization by the company before they are shipped to you. So I'd say both kinds of things go together. Those items are what we call drop shipped, meaning they are held by the suppliers until they are ordered. Okay, I'll give you an example here of something that I have ordered that was drop shipped. So I regularly order these dog tags for my dog. Whenever one gets lost or broken, I will order a new dog tag because it has to be personalized. It doesn't make sense for Amazon to hold it in its fulfillment center. Instead, I'm just using Amazon as a middleman to take my order, relay it to the company that is selling the dog tag. That company will personalize the dog tag and ship it direct to me. So really, Amazon does the shipping to the customers. This can again be something personalized or something that is just not sold in very high volume at all. So it makes sense for the suppliers to hold the inventory themselves. And for these, Amazon works as essentially like a middleman who takes the order, transfers it to the company, and then the company ships direct to you. So when you think about it, Amazon's managing 350 million items. Not everything is at your fulfillment center, only the most popular things like the AirPods that Barb's husband wanted to order. All right. So the next one that I also think is really cool is the picking strategy that is used at fulfillment centers in terms of when you place your order for 12 different things and the picker has your order at the local Des Moines fulfillment center, how do they go about finding those 12 things and putting it in a container to be shipped to you, the customer? Okay, so try to imagine what you think about the fulfillment center in terms of how it would be organized to be able to pick your 12 things in the most efficient way possible. Okay, I think our minds logically think of it kind of being organized like a department store, that there's like a kitchen section, like in this picture to the right. There's a shoe section and a book section. But unfortunately, that even though it sounds really logical to our minds because that's what we're used to with department stores, it's actually not very logical when it comes to order picking. And the reason why has to do with your 12 items probably has something from the kitchen section, something from the shoe section, something from the book section, something from another section. So for a picker to visit all of these sections and look and find your items, it would involve them walking many miles each day. And besides walking many miles, it would take them also many minutes to pick your order, which slows down the whole process. We want the picking to be as fast as possible so we can get the order shipped off to you as fast as possible and you can get your AirPods in under 24 hours. So the innovation that Amazon and many other warehouses have developed is what's called chaotic storage. Chaotic storage is kind of what it sounds like. It is creating what looks like chaos, but it isn't actually chaos. So the example I've seen a lot of people use to describe chaotic storage is with a box of toothpaste. So imagine that a box of toothpaste arrives to an Amazon fulfillment center and it has 100 different tubes of toothpaste in it. Okay, so it takes a fairly big amount of space to store this 100 tubes of toothpaste. And so it might take a while to find a space big enough in the warehouse to put this box of 100 tubes of toothpaste. Instead, with chaotic storage, tubes are removed from this box and maybe 5 tubes are placed here, 10 tubes are placed here, 5 over there. Because think about it, no one is ordering 100 tubes. Most times when people order, they're ordering only 1 or 2. So we don't need the 100 all grouped together. So we're going to be placing things where there's room, breaking up the box. And what happens as a result is the storage bins often look quite chaotic. And you can see that in the picture on the right. We have a box of almonds next to an Echo Dot, next to some raisins, and some more Echo Dots below that, then some Oreo Thins. It looks kind of crazy, but it's not, because every time we put a tube of toothpaste or put an Echo Dot on the shelf, we scan it so the computer knows where each and every one of these items are located. Okay, so what are the benefits to chaotic storage? First one, very fast to put away the items. So meaning when we get the shipment of the 100 tubes, we can put them away very quickly because we're not looking for the perfect spot that holds all 100 tubes. But the big one is it now becomes fast to pick. So now the 100 tubes of toothpaste are spread out throughout the fulfillment center. So when we're going from one item to another item, there's likely to be a tube of toothpaste on the way, so we won't have to make a separate trip to find the toothpaste. And then one of the questions we got in advance was about quality control. And I think actually this picking strategy is a great example of something Amazon does that helps with quality. When you think about you're a picker and you're going to go pick toothpaste, imagine picking toothpaste from a series of shelves that have all the 1,000 kinds of toothpaste that Amazon sells versus it's right next to this box of Oreo Thins. You're not going to get confused. It's going to be very clear the toothpaste you want is that one because there's only one kind that's there. So the chaotic storage actually helps with quality because you have items that are so different from each other next to each other rather than everything that looks very much the same next to each other. Amazon has found that this chaotic storage system actually works well with robots. So they've integrated quite a few robots into many of their fulfillment centers. In fact, about 10 years ago, they acquired a company called Kiva Systems to help them with using robots throughout the fulfillment center. So in picking, shipping, packing, all different parts of the process. The way robots work with picking to help the human pickers is they will literally bring the shelf that has the item the picker needs to pick next to the picker. Then the picker picks the item, puts it into the basket, and then the robot can return the shelf. So it really helps reduce the amount of distance the picker needs to travel because robots are bringing things to the pickers. And all of this combination of things has created great speed up for the picking process, taking it down from, depending on the order, an hour down to about 15 minutes. Okay, so again, depends on the order, how complicated it is, but all of these things contribute to picking your order that has your AirPods in it as quick as possible to get that into the shipping process and get it on down to you so you can get it in less than 24 hours. All right. So now we're going to move out of the fulfillment center and talk about the last mile. Last mile is a term people in freight logistics use for when the delivery vans travel with your packages to the final customer address. Okay. So once your order is picked at a fulfillment center, it starts its process to go towards the last mile. It either goes from a fulfillment center to the network for USPS, UPS, or Amazon. And actually, many of you may remember that before 2018, all packages that were picked and fulfilled by Amazon were delivered by USPS or UPS. Only since 2018 has Amazon started developing its own fleet. Okay, so now most of the time when you're at a fulfillment center and your order is picked, if you live where there is an Amazon fleet, your order will be sent out to be delivered by an Amazon vehicle. Okay, so if your order is going to be delivered by an Amazon vehicle rather than USPS or UPS, it will travel from the fulfillment center to what's called an Amazon delivery station. So current best number I have for delivery stations is roughly 600 in the United States. So since we said we had about 150 fulfillment centers, you can think of that as about 4 delivery stations per fulfillment center. So think about if there's a fulfillment center in Des Moines, then there's going to be 4 delivery stations in Des Moines for delivering to the north, south, east, and west side of Des Moines. It's a good way to think about it. So when the orders get to the different delivery stations, they are sorted for trucks in the immediate area. So that means we divide them, let's say again, like the north, south, east, and west Des Moines is where they will go into those delivery stations. And then within each delivery station, they'll further decide which goes into each one of the trucks that will be traveling within that part of Des Moines. And then we'll order the trucks in terms of which stop they will make first, which delivery they will make at which address at which time. So that's really where the final planning comes into place, is at the delivery station for what each truck driver is going to do on its day. One of the big reasons that Amazon added its own fleet is because of the additional control they could have over their deliveries and their delivery timing. Because think about it, if UPS is delivering Amazon packages, UPS has many different clients other than Amazon, right? And so they have to be responsible to all their clients. Or if Amazon is delivering its own packages, it is only dealing with its own customers and they are its only priority. And so that's when they can start doing things like offer 2-hour delivery and offer services that places like UPS and USPS cannot offer. They can offer speed ups in a way and deadlines that these other providers cannot provide. They can also say, notice when deliveries are not fast enough, they can do things like start offering overnight delivery. Like if some of you have gotten a package delivered at 4 a.m., that's a way Amazon has managed to keep their things on time by adding more delivery shifts that happen in the overnight hours. So they can have more control, particularly over the speed at which you get your packages. So if you got your AirPods within 24 hours, they were likely from a fulfillment center near you. They were in stock at the fulfillment center, and they were likely delivered by an Amazon truck because they could prioritize getting that delivery to you as fast as possible. Okay, so that kind of concludes a little bit about how Amazon can get things to you so quickly. And I thought I would end with a little bit of future perspectives of both some of the things that Amazon is doing next, as well as some of the things that I'm working on as a researcher in the area of freight logistics. So one of the things that Amazon is working on is expanding the reach of their fast delivery into rural areas. If you remember earlier, I showed you a map of where their fulfillment centers are. There are still quite a few gaps in the US network where things are being delivered by currently USPS, where they don't have fulfillment centers, they don't have delivery stations. Now they're going to try to expand into these rural areas. So pretty soon, most anyone will be able to get delivery from Amazon fairly quickly. So I mean like 1 to 2 days. The other big one is Amazon has taken a lot of flack over the years for not having enough of environmentally responsible plan. So they are working very hard to incorporate electronic delivery vans. So they're powered by electric engines. It's part of their initiative to have a net zero carbon level by 2040. They designed over a period of, I think, 3 years, this design of this van with Rivian. Many of you know the Rivian trucks. Now there's Rivian Amazon vans. They began rolling them out about 2 years ago. They currently have 15,000 on the road was the current estimate I have, but they want to have 100,000, which I believe is the full Amazon fleet by 2030, electrically powered. So you remove the emissions created by a gas-powered engine. So that's part of their initiatives to be more environmentally friendly. Other one that I think is also interesting that has already started rolling out as well is the use of delivery lockers. So what a delivery locker looks like is in this picture in the blue on the right is when you can go to a pickup location to pick up your package rather than have it delivered to your home. So you might already see this option when you go to order. So this is when I went to order yesterday. I live up here with this dark gray dot. And when I went to check out, it said I could choose a pickup location. And it gave me 2 options in Iowa City of Amazon lockers that are in this south side of Iowa City. So you might ask yourself, what is the advantage of potentially using a delivery locker? Well, what you would do is you would go to the locker with your Amazon app, and with the app be able to get your package out. And so that means it's more secure than if you had the package delivered to your home. So imagine you ordered AirPods or a new iPhone or something that is highly valuable. You may not want to have it be left out in front of your house or your apartment where anyone could pick it up. So if you want to have it in a more secure location, a delivery locker gives you a safe way to do that. It's also advantageous for Amazon because, as you can see in the picture, they can drop off maybe hundreds of packages at a delivery locker and not have to travel to those addresses. So it saves driver time, truck time, emissions, and so forth for Amazon if you adopt the delivery locker. Okay. Next one is Amazon, and I kind of previewed this at the beginning that they were one of the first ones that said they would use drones, but drones haven't been actually, we saw, all that common for using delivery. Part of the reason was the FAA said that drones could only be used a distance where the operator could keep the drone in their line of sight. So as you can imagine, that restricted drones to only being able to travel very short distances. So it wasn't very practical. But in May of this year, the federal government approved that drones can now fly beyond the operator's line of sight. So Amazon has recently been increasing testing of drones for delivery. Okay. And then the last one I want to mention is not something Amazon is doing, but it's something that I am personally working on, which is the use of tunnels for freight delivery. So I've been working with a company called Magway that is based in London that are considering the use of building these tunnels that would go alongside existing roads. And in these tunnels would travel these bins that, for example, would have your Amazon deliveries in it. And they would travel through these tunnels into cities and throughout cities for delivery to maybe these delivery lockers for an alternative to the current way things are done. The idea is using tunnels would remove trucks off the road, so reduce traffic, accidents, all the things like that. It would reduce the need for drivers, which are in very short supply. It would reduce emissions because all of the tunnels that are being proposed are electrically powered. And then the other cool thing for those of us in Iowa, they would not slow down if it snows or rains a lot because they would not have any weather dependency. So our research in this area has shown these kind of tunnels to be cost effective versus the current model. So we'll see if that ends up being part of the future. So some of the questions would be, who would build them? Who would pay for them? Things like that. What size is the best tunnel to build? The ones we were looking at with Magway were quite small enough to carry just your Amazon packages. Other companies, such as in Switzerland, are looking at tunnels that are quite a bit bigger that would carry large pallets of items through them that would cost billions of dollars to build. So there's a lot remaining to be understood and figure out about tunnels for freight delivery, but that gives you an idea of another innovation and one that I am personally been studying and considering. Okay, so one of the questions we had ahead of time was some of you may want to know more about what I've been talking about today. There are many books that exist about Amazon and Jeff Bezos. I have not personally read one that I can vouch for, so I just know that there are many. Most of the things I get are from reading the news, particularly the logistics report in the Wall Street Journal. Tells you when there's big changes in logistics at companies. And another one that I found really interesting is one called supplychaindive.com. They have sort of a news format, and you can also subscribe to their newsletter, and it'll tell you when there's big changes in all kinds of areas related to supply chain, whether it's ocean shipping, new kinds of contracts. It covers a wide range of manufacturing and logistics issues. So that one might be of interest to you. And then a final plug, if you're interested in learning more about operations and supply chain and efficient and smart ways to do things, our MBA program happens to have a course called Operations and Supply Chain Management. Its code is MBA 8240. I happen to teach it this fall and this spring, along with several other instructors. It is a course that we teach every semester because it is a core course in our MBA curriculum. Okay, so in conclusion of how do you get your AirPods in 24 hours or less, I hope you understand that Amazon has a multi-step process to be able to make it happen. I'm calling it a comprehensive strategy, meaning it affects their fulfillment center, their distribution network, their fleet of vehicles. All of that is involved in a comprehensive strategy to enable fast delivery. Okay. So I've enjoyed speaking with you, and now I'm happy to answer any questions that our audience might have.
Well, thank you so much, Anne. This is great information. And we have a bunch of different questions for you.
I saw things popping up in the
Things
chat.
are popping up. So one, I want to make sure people look into the chat because we just had someone in the chat add a tour, an About Amazon workplace tour that he highly recommends. So you might want to go into the chat, click on that. Don't watch it right now, people. Open it up so that you can watch it later. Okay, so first up, Anne, we have a couple of questions that are about kind of the fulfillment centers. Some were about whether does Amazon buy on consignment or does Amazon own the products when they come in? So say they buy Tide, are they buying all of that Tide or all of those hundreds of tubes of toothpaste, or are those still owned by the merchandiser?
The answer is probably not going to be satisfactory, but I think it's different for different companies. I think they have a lot of different contracts with different providers. So I'm going to guess, though I don't know this absolutely for a fact, that Amazon purchases directly all the things that are the high sellers that they feel pretty confident they're going to move quickly, but they would be more likely to have the consignment models for the things that sell a little less often. But I would double check on that, but that would be my best guess.
Great. Now, in Iowa City proper, I believe we have a fulfillment center that's on the southeast side of town.
Correct.
But then do we have additional delivery centers in addition to that fulfillment center, or does
I could not find validation of that online.
Okay.
Most of the current maps are pretty out of date. So I could only, and we all know there's a fulfillment center in Iowa City. I think in Iowa City it is connected to one delivery station, is my best guess from what I can find in Google mapping to try to detectively find that out for today. But I believe we have a fulfillment center that is attached to a delivery station.
Got it. And I have to say, I find the those pickup stations where you can get your objects. I saw there was one in the IMU, which as a mom of college students, relatively recently, I was always worried about shipping things to my college students because it's going to go to a big dorm and is it really going to get to them? And so I think the idea of having those pickup centers in these high congestion places where you are a little concerned about it. So even if you send your student to Iowa, you can ship to them safely and securely. I'm just going to put
They
that
just go
plug
with
in.
their Amazon app and they can unload their box. So you can, so I'm sure they'll be happy if that means they get higher value items shipped to them.
Great.
They'd be willing to walk over.
Now, I do have a question about whether you can take the MBA course without being enrolled in the MBA program. And I don't know if you know that, Anne, but I do want to make sure that anyone listening to this, you know, there are sometimes courses that you can take in advance. The best way to learn about all of those things is to reach out to our recruitment people, because they can tell you about all of the different certificates that we offer, et cetera, which I believe, is there a supply chain certificate currently or in the works, or we don't?
Not at this time, but we did have our graduate dean, Professor Blackhurst, just answered the question of you do need to apply to the MBA program to take the operations and supply chain class.
See, so Jen Blackhurst, also a
Who
supply,
also teaches the operations and supply chain courses.
all the more reason for you to enroll in our MBA programs in this busy, busy industry that we have. So I don't know if you would know this, Anne, but what kind of software does Amazon use to just manage all of this inventory and all of this?
All I really know, because they do keep some things very close to the vest, that it would be all software that they've pretty much created themselves. They invest a lot in hiring analysts and programmers, and they tend to either create things or buy companies that are able to do the things that they want. The example I gave of Kiva Systems was a good example of they knew they wanted to get better at robotics. And so they found a company that could do what they wanted. So they just bought the whole company and made them become part of Amazon. So I would think it's pretty much all their own internally developed, either from acquisition or creation themselves.
Perfect. Now, I have seen, and someone comments on this in the questions about the partnership that Amazon has with Kohl's, which I can, definitely is beneficial because you can return your item at Kohl's, that Kohl's gets a customer into the store that might use it. I don't know if you are aware about anything from that, do they have relationships like that with other or other stores?
Well, they definitely have that relationship, I know, with Staples and UPS stores to do from different things, which highlights one of the biggest concerns, I think, with the growth in online ordering is the challenge associated with returns. Is as we all order more and more things online, there's more and more things to be returned. And while Amazon has this great machine for fulfilling your order, there is not a great machine at Amazon or any company associated with handling the returns very well. That's become a very big issue and a discussion of environmental concern, because a lot of companies that sell trendy clothes often dispose of the clothes. Sometimes if you order something on Amazon and you want to return it, they'll say just keep it. I think that is a very important research question for academics as well as businesses to study, is how to make the return side of things better. So one part of that is how do we get people to do the returns in a good way? And by taking it to Kohl's, Kohl's is happy because you go into the Kohl's store. But the benefit for Amazon is Kohl's handles the return for you. And so they send it back in a certain way that maybe makes it easier for Amazon to process. So returns is a challenging issue.
Okay, so before I forget, I do want to remind people that in the chat, there is valuable information on the Tippy MBA program. There's actually someone who has said they have taken that course of Anne's and they loved it.
Oh, good.
And Jen Blackhurst has provided a variety of information for people, even if you already have your Iowa MBA and you want to take additional classes or certificates, there is lots of information out there. So if you are starting to think about this, go to that chat, look at some of those links.
And I'll shout
we
out
can
that if
help
you
you.
have an MBA, you can always add a certificate in business analytics, which will help as well.
Exactly. So you talked a little bit about environmentalism. And so we did have a question that actually asks about those bubble pillows that Amazon puts into your package. And are those recyclable with your other plastic bags? And I'm going to guess yes, but I don't know if you would have a different opinion.
I don't know that, but I do know that that is one of the big areas that Amazon has experimented with in terms of being more environmentally friendly is through the packaging. If you notice, you've gotten probably some surveys about the box that you got, and I know they are changing the type of filler that goes into the packages, and I believe it's away from those inflatable pillows, and maybe it's because they are not recyclable. So I'm not sure, but I do know that I have seen that they are changing the filling material, and it is all in an effort to be more environmentally friendly.
Which is wonderful if that's the place. So I do know, I see that a few people have raised your hands, and because we're in a webinar platform, we really don't have the opportunity to call on you individually. We only have a few more minutes, so if you want to add to the chat or to the Q&A, we may be able to get to you. And then let's see, I'm going to ask my cohort, Adam, who happens to be here too, if he could add some of the extra chats from Jen Blackhurst. We want to make sure that if you are interested in some of our coursework on supply chain, that you have some of that. I'm going to say we probably have just enough time for about one or two more questions. I'm not sure if you know this, but can corporations pay Amazon to put their products at the store, like kind of at the forefront? I know that, we see the most popular ones, but, is that what we see when we see sponsored as a sponsored product?
That's a great question. So that's something I've read about. So on the Amazon page, obviously the ones that are sponsored are paid for by the companies to be featured at the top when you search, pink sheets, the ones that appear at the top that say sponsored, they've paid for that. But there are multiple ones that come out that have some sort of preference, like Amazon recommended, most popular, Amazon's choice, ones like that. Those are ones that companies cannot pay to get that designation. Amazon uses analytics that are based on popularity, customer reviews, and how frequent those items have been returned, aiming for low on the returns to get a composition of those statistics to decide which ones get the popular Amazon recommends designations. That is not something you can buy your way into. But it's interesting because it really does elevate those to something you order in just a few seconds because you see Amazon recommends, and then so you don't bother reading. So it kind of makes, once you're popular, kind of becomes sort of self-fulfilling, right? If you're a popular item, then people will keep ordering it. And really it would take, some quality problems for it to move down. So it's a powerful thing that Amazon has added by adding those recommendations in terms of getting more sales of those and less of others.
Got it. And here's the last question with just a short period of time. But do you feel that speed of delivery at Amazon influences broader consumer behavior or vice versa?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I think that is a conundrum that we have to face as a population, is how fast do we really need things, right? All of this is probably not the best for our environment and our consumption to be consuming so many things so quickly, and having trucks from UPS and FedEx and Amazon down our roads every day. That's a tough one for us as a society to address. And I think less frequent deliveries or less demanding on how fast things are could have a benefit to society, but the individuals tend to want it as fast as possible. So that's a tough one, right? And I've tried to bring that one up in my MBA class of like, if it's better for the environment to not get the fastest delivery, so it can be combined with more things, that you don't get your first package before the third package, will you do it? And most people are saying, no, I want it unless there's a charge for it. And then if there's a charge for it, will you go to a competitor that doesn't charge for it? So I think that's a huge dilemma, is how much do we really need versus how much do we just want?
Great. Well, thank you very much. And so just for those that might be interested, I did just put 2 emails in the chat. Jen Blackhurst, who oversees our graduate programs and is a supply chain expert, as well as our fabulous speaker today, Ann Campbell. I put her email in there in that they can potentially answer some other questions for you. So, Ann, I want to just give you a special shout out. I thought this was fascinating. I did find out how my husband got his Airbuzz that quickly. And I think there's a lot of other people who are curious about all of this too. And I appreciate you taking the time to pull together the presentation. I thought it was really insightful. So just a reminder for everyone, when we end our webinar, there will be a short survey that will pop up in your browser. We please ask you to just take a quick minute to answer a few quick questions about our webinar, as well as to provide some insight on what else would you like to hear in a webinar. We're always looking for ideas. It may not just come from the fact that your husband's AirPods showed up overnight.
Thanks everybody for asking such great questions. Really appreciate it.
That is great. And as always, our webinar is recorded. We will share it on the college's alumni resources page. In addition, we also include it on the college's YouTube page. We send an email out afterwards to everyone who registers. So if you can't attend, just register and you'll get that handy link from us. And then that way you can watch it later or share it with your friends. So again, Anne, thank you for your time today, and thanks to everyone for joining us for this presentation. And as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Thanks, everyone.